Hi, everyone. This is Osman Amram from USA for Israeli Democracy. We are having today an update from Tal Schneider, a reporter from Times of Israel, who's going to tell us what's happening in Israel. As a reminder, this is the channel. USA for Israeli Democracy's organization was organized to great support in the US for democracy, a strong democracy in Israel. Unlike some of the accusations that some people in Israel were making, this organization is for strong Israeli country, strong Israeli democracy. Right now, given the situation, we're pivoting our efforts and information channel to help people get information about what's happening in Israel and what we can do to make it a sustainable country. And with that, and we're going to have about several 20 to 30 minutes update from Tal, and then we're going to open it for question and answers. So you could type your questions as you have them, but we're not going to disturb the update, and then we're going to do it afterwards. At the end, we're going to go through the question and answers. Tal, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Tal Schneider. I'm diplomatic and political correspondent for the Times of Israel. I am in Tel Aviv area, in the suburbs, actually. And I have two kids in Israel's military. My eldest is 22, and he is an officer in the paratroopers, Tzanchanim, for those of you who know, which means that he is in Sderot as we talk right now with his soldiers. My daughter is she's a fresh soldier in tanks unit. She is not in a danger zone. She is in the base down south, very close to the Egyptian border, but not in any way under any kind of tense area. So this is our life at the moment. The last couple of days have been very, very difficult. I will start with maybe some personal stories, and then I'll move into briefing. But as you all know, you all seen the images. It's horrific. I can't even tell you enough. Me and my husband, we already been to three funerals, and we have two more tomorrow. And we just found out about the neighbor and a mother in the neighborhood who has a single mother for three boys. They're all teens. She was missing since Saturday morning, and we were trying to help with some phone calls and some geolocations and trying to get to see the route, her whereabouts, where was she last seen, and so on. Looking at TikTok videos, looking at phone calls she may have made. Looking at, the police help with geolocation of the cell phone of her and another friend she was with, trying to locate the car. We did, we took every kind of search, digital search operation as we could, talking to people and so on. But about 8 hours ago, the military knocked on the family door, and they announced that her body was recovered, it was found, and the funeral is tomorrow. So three boys, as I said, single mother. The father is not part of the family for several years now, and they live with their grandparents even before the murder. She was shot at gunpoint in trying to escape from the music festival. She managed to get all the way up to Sderot, which is about 10 kilometers up north, around 10 minutes drive. She managed to get all the way up there. Maybe then on foot, we don't know, but that's what it is. Very, very difficult for us. And I was just talking to my kids. I got a phone call from my son in Sderot, and told him everything. The way this woman was my friend is through the kids. They went to school together. So I just told him everything. And with that, I will talk a little bit about what's going on military-wise. We don't know much yet. I think the military is preparing for ground incursion or for some sort of operations, but we don't have the full details what's going to happen. Everybody are getting ready. We are, excuse me just a second. Just a second, I'm sorry. Okay, guys, I'm very, very sorry. There's phone calls from media around the world. And so we don't know what's the plan ahead with the military. We do know that they brought everything. Tanks from the southern part of the countries moved up to Gaza area, special units, pilots, in all of the units. They recruited around 360,000 reservists from all ages. And I think the country is preparing for a long war. We don't know how long it's going to take and what is the plan. We are entering into this situation after a year of demonstrations and after a year of deep dividing arguments among ourselves. The country was not in good shape when we entered, when it all started. I may say it was in a very bad shape. Huge demonstrations, maybe you've read of them. The government, the new government, was trying to change the democratic fabric of the country. They were trying to set up this reform which will strip the Supreme Court of powers and other problems. And there were huge demonstrations all around the country. Tons of criticism of the prime minister because he is under indictment, because he is a dividing figure, because he is, So I think we entered into this situation when he is very weak, and he is under the pressure from his coalition partners. They're not letting him do anything. Today we found out that, since Saturday, people in Israel are saying you have to get a unity government because you need to have Benny Gantz on your side, because Benny Gantz is a former chief IDF, and Eisenkot is another former chief IDF, and they will help you with the decision. And he didn't want to do it. And then he said, people said it was huge pressure to do it, and just in order to bring the people people that are from the center left will feel represented in a situation like that, and they will feel that there's someone more responsible heading the country. Netanyahu, some of Netanyahu ministers are just, basically unbelievable. They are, a former, a convicted felon like Itamar Ben-Gvir, who was convicted 8 times in Israel's courts for incitement against Arabs. So he is the Minister of Homeland Security, which is just, a crazy notion. And everybody said you have to bring in Gantz or Lapid or both of them and so on. And it took Netanyahu 5 days, apparently, and this is just crazy stuff. The reason for Netanyahu, with the way he stalled things and he didn't go right away and build unity government, was because his wife, Sarah, said no. She resisted, and he was listening to her. And I know it sounds crazy, but this is, a fact by now. We all know that some people in the close circle of Netanyahu actually texted reporters saying the reason we are not there yet is because she doesn't let it happen. And so now it's maybe an anecdote, but now it's done, and Gantz is in the government as of an hour ago. Now we have to start thinking what's next. I mean, it's hard for me to tell you what's next. As you all see and follow, it's a minute by minute. We just had a scare this afternoon with people thought that there is an attack coming in from Lebanon. After an hour or so, the military said, no, there's nothing. I mean, the area is clear, but they advised the entire region of people from the northern border all the way to Haifa to enter into shelters. Obviously, this is war. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of problems that people don't know. We have Pikud HaOref. It's like, how do you call that in English? Maybe the command of homes or command of villages and homes. They made several mistakes in the last couple of days. For example, they said everybody needs to get food for shelters for 72 hours. It caused huge, maybe the command of Homefront, They sent a notice through text message to the entire country to arrange yourself for 72 hours in a shelter and buy food and everything. And obviously what happened is people ran to the supermarkets and they just took everything, and there were no eggs and milks and cucumbers and stuff like that left. So there's no problem with the chain of supply. I was on a briefing yesterday with another commander from the home front, and he said explicitly, we are not in a shortage. We have ships coming in, we have food coming in, we have electricity. We don't have, those problems, but because of those mistakes that were made with the auto announcements, people ran to buy stuff and they emptied all of the shelves. And as you know, we do have a shortage of workers because people are either in shelter or afraid to go or enlisted to the military. So, I don't think they filled up all of the grocery stores, but they will. What else can I tell you at the moment? It's a big failure of Israel's intelligence capabilities. We are not in a position right now when we can start even think of what took place, what happened with this failure, but we do know what went down in the kibbutzes near the border. They were totally deserted. They didn't have enough guns. They didn't have enough protection. Alarm system worked, but it's a massacre. If you're following the news, they beheaded kids, they raped women, they took hostages, they shot hostages. They shot people who were taken and were tied. We saw some footage of that. I mean, I didn't saw all of it, but we saw some. They shot people inside shelters, people were hiding. Some people were hiding for 30 hours. It took the military very long time to get there. We have almost 200 soldiers already confirmed dead from the first hours, when some of the soldiers just, were running from our areas, Tel Aviv area, running down south and trying to control the situation, and just ran with simple guns and not with the entire equipment. And they were just murdered immediately. So high officers, soldiers, civilians, kids, families, so many families were murdered together, 5 or 4 people. We have Doron Almog, who is the chairman of the Jewish Agency, lost 9 people from his family, cousins and aunts and brothers and sisters. The entire region is wiped out. I mean, hundreds of houses are torched, no leftovers. All of the cars in the area were torched. People on a music festival just running to shelters. And I think with that, maybe I should take your questions so we can, really see, what do you want to talk about?
First question, why weren't there enough soldiers to protect the border? Were they really moved to protect settlers in the West Bank?
That's a big question at the moment. As a reporter, I don't want to give you details that I did not confirm myself. So there is a general environment at the moment saying most of the troops were brought into Judea and Samaria, which is true. Judea and Samaria were under threats of what we call the isolated terrorists. So it was not coordinated terrorism. It's more of when just one person decides that he wants to just take a knife and hurt someone. So we had in couple of last years, maybe one person a week, sometimes two people a week being murdered, mostly with knives and with ramming through car rammings. And it was, I think, through all of those months and years, it's probably 2 years, the government was very worried about that and put a lot of effort in trying to prevent that. Some people were shot to death in Hawara, and probably if you heard the name. So we have a repeating incidents in Hawara. But repeating incidents in Hawara doesn't justify moving all of your forces from Gaza. And the Gaza border, I mean, I don't have to, I can't tell you the strategic planning, but the Gaza border was just neglected. The country put a lot of money into building the underground obstacle. This is the way we call it, the מכשול תת-קרקעי. So the underground wall or the underground obstacle, which was supposed to be something that will block the tunnels, which we had in 2014 war, the summer war of Gaza in 2014. So this underground block or underground obstacle was probably, there was a huge sum of money put into that, because can you imagine a huge area of 100 kilometers, you have to build an underground wall that goes all the way. And while they were doing it, it seems that they were totally neglecting the upper part. So we do know that there was a big Hamas or jihad drill exercise, military exercise on October 3rd, just 4 days before. The reason we know that is because some of the reporters wrote and broadcasted that the people in the regions are very, very worried, because they heard the noises, they heard the amount of ammunition being used in this exercise, and they called up the military, and this just took place on October 3rd. And so that's one thing. Another thing that we had demonstrations by Palestinians right very close to the fence. And people from those kibbutz and from those villages saw those demonstrations, and those demonstrations were scattered around, but it's like a violence event. Nobody thought that they can just open the fence just like that. So what happened on Saturday morning is that they shot rockets, and under the rain of rockets, about 2,000 rockets within 1 hour, under this, they just brought like a tractor. They just ran over a part of the fence in 3 or 4 locations, and through that they entered with motorcycles and by foot, probably 2,000 terrorists at the same time, flooding the entire region. And the kibbutz that were very close to the fence, which is mostly Be'eri, Nahal Oz, and Nahal Oz, Be'eri, and Kfar Aza, which is a Gaza village. Those 3 kibbutzes were just swamped with motorcycles of terrorists and people, and they ran house to house, torched everything, took people hostages, took them by foot, and you've seen the photos.
Alan is asking, isn't there pressure for Netanyahu to resign? Is there some chance of that?
Well, as you can guess, the amount of distress is very, very high. I just saw a video of one of the ministers walking into a hospital. She was visiting. She's the environmental protection minister, but she is coming from health occupations. So she always wanted to be a health minister. So she's visiting the hospitals, and she got caught by people who were shouting at her, yelling at her, and she had to run away. Now, as per Netanyahu, I mean, many people are saying that he should resign, but I have to tell you, many people have been saying that he should resign for 5 years because of the indictments. So, I mean, and he doesn't care about those. I mean, we had demonstrations against him for 10 months now, calling him to just cancel the entire reform and really bashing the government and bashing him. And he doesn't care. So, I mean, I'm sure that once this thing is over, or maybe partially over, there will be huge demonstrations and huge cries for him to go. But it's it doesn't really care.
Nir is asking, do you think that Hezbollah will get massively involved? What is the likelihood?
Do I think that Hezbollah with what?
Will get involved.
They already engaged in a way. There was yesterday there was an attack on the border, and we had a lieutenant colonel, which is a very high rank, a Druze, by the way. It's Aluf Mishneh. If it tells anyone, it's like three stars here. It's a very high rank. It's the commander of the entire region. So he was killed during that attack, and another soldier, I think maybe another 1 or 2 soldiers. I just happen to know the second soldier who got killed because I'm going to his funeral tomorrow, because I know his grandmother very good. She's a close friend also. So the attack was severe. Tonight, the attack seems to be a mistaken understanding of what was going on. There were some rockets from Syria, rockets from Lebanon. So we don't know yet, but definitely all eyes on that area. Immediately on Saturday morning, when they sent all of the troops down south, they immediately sent also troops up to the northern border. I also have a brother-in-law is doing reserve duty out there in the northern part. I don't know. I mean, they've gotten direct threats from Biden saying, "Don't get engaged, or we will," you know. But it's very, very tense. It's very tense. I mean, I won't be surprised if they will jump in.
Paula is asking about the vacuum left by the government. Where is the government in terms of speaking to the citizens? Who is going to fill out the vacuum at this point, visiting the soldiers, talking to people?
I have to tell you, we have the government, which has 33 ministers, way too much than we need. And then we have the war cabinet. The war cabinet is supposed to be around 14 people. Israel's war cabinet has been dysfunctional for 10 months. The reason is that Ben Gvir, a convicted felon with 8 felonies and for incitements against Arab and incitement to terror against Arabs, the reason is that he is a person not to be trusted at all. Never ever, when he was a young person as well, because we all know that he was one of the people who threatened Rabin before Rabin was assassinated. But even today, when he is 46 or 50, I don't know how old he is, he's still a very untrusty person. So he leaks everything from cabinets. So, and that's, by the way, it's a criminal offense by itself. So Netanyahu decided a couple of months ago not to invite him anymore to the war cabinet. So the war cabinet is dysfunctional. You cannot not invite someone. You have to just not gather the war cabinet. So there is no. So they were not meeting. Instead, Netanyahu set up the forum with Ron Dermer and the National Security Advisor Tzachi Hanegbi and another group of maybe 1 or 2 ministers. So right now, Benny Gantz basically saved Netanyahu because he demanded that during this unity government, the war cabinet will be narrowed down to, I think, 5 or 6 people, and from both sides. And one of them is Benny Gantz, who was the former chief IDF. Another one is Gadi Eisenkot, another former chief IDF. So, and from the Netanyahu side, it will be the defense minister. Obviously, Yoav Gallant, who was also deputy chief of staff for the IDF. So within this group, the hope is that Smotrich and Ben Gvir, both very extreme ministers, will be out of this cabinet. But I don't know if they will be able to do anything, because they're just Netanyahu is most of the time is into politics. I mean, he wants to So as I said earlier, the reason they did not set up the government is because Mrs. Netanyahu thought that Gantz will overshadow him, or Gantz will take the, I don't know, whatever it is. So it's really crazy time.
Alan is asking about the Haredim, the ultra-Orthodox, not serving in the military. Is there a chance? I mean, we know that just before the war started, the Knesset was about to get together for the winter session, and one of the things that was passing a law that will exempt ultra-Orthodox from serving in the army. Is there a chance that because of this war, either it's going to pass or not going to pass, and things will change their thinking on the topic?
Life as we knew it will no longer, I don't know. I mean, the winter session of the Knesset is supposed to open this Monday. I have to tell you, I think it will not open. I don't think we're going to have any legislation in the short term at all, other than security emergency. We were supposed to have a local election in the end of October 31st. The country is going for local election, and it means mayors around the country. So right now, the Interior Minister said today that they will ask to postpone it in 3 months. It happened in the past with local elections. By the way, it also happened once in general election in Yom Kippur War, when they had to postpone because of the amount of damage and casualties. It feels as Yom Kippur is, we are in a much bigger situation than Yom Kippur, and we lost 100,000 and 12,000 people in a couple of hours. I mean, this is the amount of people who died in 5 years of the first Intifada. Not even there. We know the numbers suppress that. So they will postpone the elections. They will postpone the opening ceremony of the Knesset, I guess. And if they will not postpone it, they will do a very humble ceremony. The Supreme Court Supreme Court president was supposed to have a retirement party on October 16th. In a couple of days, everything is canceled. She is retiring because it's under the law, but without any ceremony, of course. And I think what Gantz is doing while entering this crazy government is that he will make sure that no legislation will take place in the near future with respect to the judicial reform and with respect to the recruitment of the Haredim. So, and I suppose he will also take care to make sure that we get a proper president of the Supreme Court instead of Chayut. And as I said, I think things will not be the same here anymore. Never. It's just one of those life-changing events, but in a bad way. Yeah, things will not go back. I don't know to tell you what, but
right.
Yeah, completely sure that the judicial reform is completely dead at this point.
2 questions about what can people do. The first one, there are many organizations asking for financial support. any comment regarding how to prioritize these requests as the need is the need so great? I would just say there's a website, standwithisrael.co.il, that lists all legitimate sites. So if you want to do that, but Tal, first question: what can Americans do to help?
I've been living in the United States as a reporter in 2006 when there was the second Lebanon war, and I used to see all over the synagogues and the community centers and the Jewish community centers as huge signs: support Israel, donate money. And for me it was a first. I mean, this was the first time I lived in the United States during a war, and I was like, wow, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, I was shocked. I mean, they brought so much money, and I felt like the Jewish community in the United States was so organized and so well prepared to help Israel. So, I mean, I think you have all the vehicles, and you know all the goals, you know what to do. I mean, it's not for me to say. We are here. We're not a poor country. We shouldn't be in a situation where we're supposed to get, we're supposed to be able to do it. With the spirit and with the equipment. I mean, we're supposed to have the best military. I mean, right now we feel very, very weak, but I hope that they will get it together. And I know for a fact that there is no shortage of food. I mean, I've just talked to my son, as I said, he's in Sderot, and I asked him about, what's going on with all of the donation. He said, we are eating too much, and if we will eat, so much, we won't be able to fight. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it seems that, you read all of the accounts. Some of the reserve duty are missing with the equipment. It's not the case with the non-reservist military, just mandatory military. They have all the equipment. With the reservist, it's a different story. You see all of the accounts. You can pick and choose whatever you want to do. You can, I think maybe the most dire situation at the moment is for the kibbutz that were evicted. You can look at the map and see 22 villages or kibbutzes from around the border were sent. So some of the communities were wiped out. I mean, like 200 people dead from a kibbutz of like 600 people or 700. It's really, the numbers are just unbelievable. And I don't know how they will go back to the way things were. The houses are torched. So I've read in the media that the entire kibbutz as a community was evacuated to either Mitzpe Ramon or Ma'ale HaMisha, or some of them to Shfaim. That's a different kibbutz in the shore area. And those people ran without cell phones, without shoes, some of them in their underwear, for example, the group that ran into that was taken to Mitzpe Ramon, if you know the area, it's very cold there at night. So they have nothing, no sweaters, no. So me and my husband, we plan to just volunteer there, I suppose, during the weekend. Just, they need everything. They have no cell phones. They have no money. They have no food, no clothing. It's just really, it's like refugees. So I think this is the most dire situation, is for the villages and not for the military, actually. And the villagers are just, some people are volunteering at the moment to go back to all of those kibbutzes and feed the cows, because the cows that live on the border did not get food for 4 days. So we have volunteers running into, it's not because it's okay to feel sorry for the cows, but this is not just about feeling sorry for the cows. It's the livelihood of the kibbutz. They need to milk the cows because they need to meet, you cannot destroy the cattle, right? You need the cattle to keep on being in order for your future income. So, yeah, I think this is, if you want to focus on something, maybe I think people should focus on those kibbutzes, on the Israel's kibbutz movement, on those specific locations. Just pick one of them and just try to find out what can you do for a kibbutz. How can you help them? Maybe this is an idea.
Roy is asking on another topic, how does Israel achieve their aim of completely destroying Hamas' ability to attack Israel again, like they did last Saturday, without a truly enormous loss of Palestinian lives?
How can we what?
How can Israel destroy Hamas' ability to attack again without a truly enormous loss of Palestinian lives?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a military expert. I think that they are trying. I mean, we're past that situation when we are trying to just pick and choose what to do. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think they have to take down the entire leadership of the Hamas. If it's militants and their leaders, maybe a couple of thousands of people. But what's next? I don't know. I'm sorry for not being able to answer this. I mean, I'm not a strategic expert.
Okay. And the questions are all over, so bear with me. Paula is asking, were there any preconditions that you know of for the new emergency cabinet, like no jail for Netanyahu and all his extremists will leave the government after the war?
No, they were not like that. The preconditions were mutual way of taking the steps together. I think one precondition was with respect to the judicial reform, it's off the table. For example, I think Benny Gantz told him, we have the chancellor of the bank, of Israel's central bank. The chancellor of the central bank was supposed to step down in October as well. He ended his 7 years or 5 years term. And Netanyahu was, before everything started, before the war started, Netanyahu was not sure if he will extend his term or they will part ways. The chancellor, he had huge criticism on Netanyahu with respect to the judicial reform. A straightforward, on the record objection. Now Benny Gantz told him, "You want me in the government? This is a precondition." He stays because we need stability at the moment. I think also for the Supreme Court, they will, insist on someone. So those are the preconditions in order to get some sort of stable situation here, at least on the civil life, on the civil side of things. And I think the judicial reform, judicial reform will not continue. Many people are blaming this government for the situation because what they say, you tried to weaken us with this judicial reform, with just canceling Israel's democracy. We went on the streets to protest. We started to say we will not serve in a dictatorship. Then the people in Gaza and in Lebanon and in Iran saw how weak Israel is because you were not listening to us saying this is not good. And Chief IDF, Herzi Halevi, was trying to take Netanyahu into a back room in the Knesset in July and tell him, don't do that, the bill that they passed. This is a huge mistake. And Netanyahu did not want to be briefed. Halevi told him, I need to brief you on the security situation, the implications of this bill. And Netanyahu did not allow his ministers and no one to be briefed. So this is just unbelievable.
What happens after the war? Roy is asking. How will the situation change? What are the chances it will change for the better?
You guys, I can't talk to you of after the war. It's day 4. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I have no idea. We are minute by minute. We are still counting the deaths. We don't even know who died. We're going to funerals. I don't know what's going to happen after the war. It's so soon.
Molly is asking, any comment on the relationship with Saudi Arabia and if the warming of the relationship with Israel was one of the causes of the attack?
You know what? I'm pretty sure it was. So there's extremists everywhere, wants to ruin everything. If something good happens and Israel is managing to get to Saudi Arabia and start something with the great assistance of Biden, by the way, the Biden speech yesterday, I will tell you about that in a minute, but it's just heartbreaking for me that the extremists of the Middle East, either in Israel or any other countries, they also do it in other countries. When they see some hope and some progress and some modern progress, they just want to just, I mean, the sort of attack we had on Saturday, it's ISIS. It's unbelievable. It's like beheading kids. Who does that? Who does that? It's raping women and grabbing elderly women and taking them captive at the age of 85. Who does those things? Torching people, torching houses, torching. I'm pretty sure it has a connection. It must be a connection. As per Biden, I wanted to tell you, we were sitting in front of the TVs yesterday and crying. So we had, at the time of his speech, there was 48% of Israel's population was watching the TV. For almost half of Israel's population, that means like 4.5 million people watched the speech live. Biden was amazing. He gave us hope. We heard leadership for the first time for so many months. I mean, we don't have leadership here. Our prime minister, did you know that Israeli prime minister doesn't talk in Hebrew? He talks only in English. He doesn't give interviews. He only gives interviews in English to the American media. We don't get to interview him. We don't get to ask him questions for years. So Netanyahu, he sends those videos, I mean, statements. He goes on and says, but no questions. It's just, one-way statement. Oh, I'm pretty certain that we'll win, we'll change the Middle East. Okay, so there's a statement coming out on a video on day one of the war. No video since then. No questions and answers. We don't get to ask him questions. The only thing he did before the war is giving the American media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, podcasts, Mark Levin, whatever you want. He gave them like 25 interviews during a couple of months. And we get the news from Wolf Blitzer. When Wolf Blitzer asks him a question, we get the news. And believe it or not, the American media is consulting with the Israeli media what to ask him because they know we are not getting answers. So when you have a situation like that and you see Biden standing in front of the TV and saying the most important words, this is, the home of the Jewish people, this is your land, you will never go away, we have to protect you, we have to give every Jewish around the world, a sense of security in this land. I mean, we were crying here, for, very precise speech. I have to tell you also that, and this probably can stay here, but I also said it in the media, so it's not that bad. But I didn't say it in American media, so I'm saying it here. Did you all see the video where John Kirby cried? Did you see that?
I did. Yeah.
You did? So like 24 hours before that, or maybe the same day, I don't know, like hours before that, John Kirby emailed me and asked me personally, Tal, what's going on? What's going on with your loved ones? He asked me, and I told him, 2 kids in the military, a neighbor that is missing, a friend that has, already been to one funeral at that time of an officer. And he wrote right back and he said, I'm not a praying person, but I am, he was devastated. And then 24 hours later, I watched him on TV crying. I was like, I'm pretty sure he did not email just me. It's not like I'm his personal friend. I think he emailed many people and said, what's going on? Because I think they saw videos. And I was like, wow, right. This is the person who advises the president. He was asking me personally. This has never happened to me. he was asking me personally about my kids and my family, and I was really amazed by that. Such a personal approach to the Israelis. We've never felt anything like that from the United States.
Speaking of presidents, Alan is asking about President Herzog's speech yesterday. Do you agree it was also a good speech? Did you get to watch it?
I didn't get to watch it. As I told you, yesterday I think I was at a funeral. I'm not sure where I was. Things are, going. It's just I'm overwhelmed. I did not see everything.
Any closing comments, Tal?
Just be with us, help us. You are, it's the Jewish community of the United States is our greatest friend. We cherish that. We know that. We are thankful for that. And let's hope for the best. I mean, and let's hope for better times and not such a grim, briefing by me. I'm apologizing if I was too sentimental, and it's really things are tough.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. If you haven't signed up, go to USA for Israeli Democracy.org/join, and you get update on our future events and stay informed with our information channels, and we would love for you to share it. Oh, one question, I'm sorry. Alan did ask about what should be the message in social media, do you think? What is the most effective way to help now in terms of messaging?
Obviously, Hamas is, if there is another country around the world who doesn't designate them as a terror organization, I mean, when I see they call them militants, no, they are terrorists, and what they're doing is terrorizing a civilian population, and this should be noted. I mean, I'm usually not the type to be upset with the New York Times, but I saw that the New York Times called them militants, and things should be very, very clear. These are not militants. These are not people who wants to have a state. No, this is just animal behavior, and it needs to be very, very clear everywhere. It's just so if you see media that is not doing its job, I mean, it should be oh, I've seen people in universities are saying that, I mean, again, excuse me, I was not how do you say that? I was not thorough in reading everything, so I didn't go deep and read everything, because we don't really don't have much time to just go deep. But I saw some universities that gave the police some sort of, they called, they were trying to justify, or I don't know. I mean, things should be very, very clear at this point. I think it was never as clear as it is right now for who is who here. So we are a democracy. We were fighting against the judicial reform. We will not let the judicial reform pass. Everybody saw Israel's demonstration and understood how the civil society here is very, very strong and resilient. And we will keep our government at bay when we're watching them. We'll make sure that I don't know, either resign or whatever, but we will not let them get away with any judicial changes anymore. But the fight against academics who are trying to understand what's going on in Gaza or in the Hamas, I mean, enough is enough. This has to stop.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the Times of Israel and for the work that you do, Tal, and being part of USA for Israeli Democracy and feeding us information. We really appreciate it, and we'll stay in touch.